I have a couple of youths with me. We have Zaid, Muhammad Asim, and Mr. Ayan. I don't know Ayan's last name, but it is what it is. So, what we're going to focus on today is just going over our openings and opening plans and how to handle the transition from openings to middle games and how that translates. So first off, we're going to just read a little bit about what Max Euwe has said. We have his book over here with us, which is The Road to Chess Mastery by Max Euwe and Walter Meaden. So here's what Mr. Euwe says. He says, when most of the pieces are developed and stand ready for active battle, the opening is almost over and the middle game is about to begin. This is the phase of the game that is perhaps the most difficult of all to play, partly because it is not charted in books, and partly because the pieces stand ready to play, and they have usually not yet come into contact with the opponent's opposing forces, and therefore the thinking must be largely strategical rather than tactical. It is in this part of the game that it becomes evident whether the player understood what he was doing in the opening or whether he was just making a series of moves learned by rote transition. In this phase, one has to make plans for the future, establish an overall strategy, and choose the right strategy. The strategy of the transition to the middle game has its root in the openings. The difference between the amateur and the master becomes much more apparent here than it is in the opening. Often, the amateur, completely bewildered and not knowing what to do with the position he has built up for himself, plays aimlessly and at least falteringly, as seen in Game 8. The master, on the contrary, understanding the general type of structures arising from the opening he has played, knowing the characteristics of his particular position and the objects of which he should aim, plans his strategy according to the dictates of his position, and thus leads to a successful combination in the middle game. So, what basically Mr. U is trying to tell us is that there are two parts of learning a chess opening. One is the moves, and secondly are the deeper ideas behind those moves. So, for example, the difference that would be quite evident is, let's just take the standard king spawn opening. You guys play the king spawn?
Yeah.
Uh,
I did.
okay, so let's just take the king spawn opening, right? Knight f3, knight f6, and let's just say bishop f5, and you continue with this move, right? Just play normal looking stuff, and let's just say he castles. Now you castle, and this is the very typical position. And now, what you need to understand is the types of ideas that you have in this position, right? And how to best deal with them. First off, your pieces, right? uh, your pieces need to come out and every move should activate them somehow. So for example, the bishop can come out over here and threaten to win the knight, right? So every move is coming with a threat. Other idea over here is just simply to reroute the knight over here and play for this break, continue with c3 and getting some space on the king side, right? So that's one idea. Another idea is to actually just wait for the opponent to play something like this and you can continue with this to trade off this dark squared bishop. Why is this dark squared bishop important? It's because of the fact that this bishop is one pinning this pawn, you can't push, and secondly there are tactics. If let's say you ever play something like this, uh, tactics come into play, right? And that's precisely what the difference between learning an opening is and knowing what it is that you want to do. So this is just like one example, and I guess most of you would be pretty well acquainted with this position, because this is basically a position that you get in like probably one fourth of your games. So knowing this position, the ins and out of it, like for example, even much later down the road, playing something like c3, d4, queen c2, making sure that you can trade off, let's say, this light squared bishop just to get a knight over here. That would be really strong. Like imagine he doesn't have a light squared bishop to push off this knight, the knight over here. Now this knight is very strong. Why? Because number one, you can't push it away like this, because suddenly this knight jumps in over here, guarded by the bishop. And secondly, this knight really just helps you out a lot, because all you need to do is bring in your queen this way after playing f5, king h1, and imagine a knight over here, a queen over here, bishop coming in, and it's pretty much game over for your opponent. Your opponent is going to play something like this to target your light squared bishop, and again, this is a bishop that's looking towards the king, which is why you need to play a4 first, so that you can meet this with this. And also, uh, pawn to a4 is also just threatening to win the bishop if the opponent is not careful. So that's why you need to play pawn to a4. Now always, pawn to a4, it's a double-edged sword. Why? Because it leaves a hole over here on b4. Now the knight can jump over here, and you can't really push it away as easily as you could with pawn to h3. Yes, Zed, you have a question?
Sir, the screen got removed for a second. I can't see it on the need. So,
Okay, okay, wait. Uh, can you see it now?
yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So this is what I was talking about, right? So pawn to a4. Now, as you can see, he is going to try and play this, and pawn to a4 just frees up, space for your bishop. And the reason that's very important is because this bishop is what is looking at the king, and you need this as an important strategic piece. So now, for example, something like over here doesn't really do anything. You can just go back and, knight on the rim is dim, and you can continue with your other ideas. Now let's say your opponent plays something like this. Do you think we should take? Remember,
I,
our strategic
I,
idea is to bring our knight over here somehow. That's the main crux of this position. Reroute our knight over here, and our plan is to play f5, f4, king h1, f4, and then bring our queen over here. And once we get all of that, we are winning. We're just winning. So what do you think we should do? Do we A, take over here, or do we B, continue with our plan? What do you think is more stronger? Yes. Ayan, I can't really hear you.
के साथ आई थिंक जा रहा है बिशप टेक नहीं खेलना चाहिए
Yep, we should be moving with our plan to read out over here, and that's exactly what we should do. Just go over here, and now you see it sort of becomes evident who has the better position, just because one side knows the plan of transitioning from the middle game towards the end game. And that's exactly what Max Uwe was talking about when he said that the evident the difference between a person who knows the opening and just is going over the moves is. So taking over here, big strategic error. Why? Because now we get this square. And let's say just play something like this. We can play something like this with tempo, and now his dark squares are really weak because of the fact that he's played this. We are doing really good. Now there are two ways to play. We can either push c4, right? First, stopping any and all semblance of him playing d4, or we can continue with just this. And now we have two threats. One, we are threatening to play this, and second, we are also threatening to play this. So I think this is pretty much forced, because otherwise, if let's say back, then you're getting trapped, right? So pretty much this is forced, and then you just get a very good position, and you can continue with all sort of ideas. Reroute over here, h4, h5, rook out, and then push open towards the center, and overall it's going to be a very easy game. Now this is just one example, right? uh, and this is like something that's very very simple. A much more complicated position would have other demands, like for example emerging out of the d4 as black. There are some very very sharp lines in the Botvinnik variation. Are any of you guys familiar with the semi-Slav defense? Do you guys play it? Like obviously after taking over the pawn, this just leads to very very sharp theory that you need to be made well aware of. And then obviously each opening has its own ideas and set of principles. So exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the lecture, that there are two parts of learning an opening. The first is just knowing what moves are best, and that can come by just turning on the best move arrow and just playing out the best moves of whatever the engine suggests. You memorize them, maybe you will employ them in your games, but until and unless you really know what the purpose behind these moves is, or rather what the idea or what I'm going to do after my opening phase is over, that is what's going to decide whether you win or lose a chess game. So, what do you guys think?
Yes, sir, I agree. Uh, every position, I guess, like for example, this is a very uh, yeah, the opening has its own idea, like 8-6, and
Yeah, 8-6, he goes back,
then
and then obviously he has to sort of sacrifice over here, but he gets the piece back. You defend over here, and then after here, you just go there, there, queen goes there, and then here, and then you just castle queenside. This is like one of the openings that's really, really sharp. And then you push c5, here, here, and now over here the best move is there. So, I mean, one person knows just the 16 moves of theory, right? And the other person knows that, okay, here is what I'm going to do. My plan over here is to play knight out over here, right? I can't take over here because after takes I have nothing, right? If I move over here, then there's this, and then there's this after takes, so you can't really play that. But rather than just knowing that my best move over here is this, what you need to understand is that your idea long term is going to be play knight out over here, then either reroute it over here, or know that after here, here, here check, this becomes a really strong combination over here. So a check over here with the knight would be devastating. Let's say rook goes back, then a check with the knight is really devastating and may even lead to mate in some cases. And obviously there are many other different ideas that you need to be aware of when playing this specific opening. So this is on the other extreme of the you know chart, where the position becomes really really sharp. So the first example was kind of mediocre, where I mean you could get away with a lot of things. The difference between not knowing and knowing the correct ideas in the position isn't all that clear. But this is one of those positions where the position becomes really really sharp, and you need to know your theory. And I mean even over here, there are much other lines. Like I think for example, this is also a line over here. I think there's one more line I forgot over here. Yeah, knight to a4, and then again this move. Over here you can't go back over here because then you lose as well for some reason or the other. So that's the importance of knowing the ideas that you play. So rather than just learning moves, try to learn the pawn structures and the ideas that emerge out of those pawn structures. Like, how many pawn structures do you guys know about? Other than the IQP. Everyone knows the IQP.
Other than the IQP, Morozzi, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
There's
the
this pawn structure
Marcosi
in
Marcos
bind.
for
Scandinavian defense.
What? I can't hear you.
There's this structure in Karukan and Scandinavian defense, the typical Karukan structure.
Yeah, the Karukan structure is one of them.
Yeah,
as
Then
there's
well as
Karukan structure.
Sicilian defense structures and like the accelerated dragon.
Then there is Carlsbad structure.
yeah, the Carlsbad structure. Now, other than having a set repertoire for all of the openings for black and white, the second most important thing in chess is pawn structures, right? So, what pawn structures basically enable you to do is the same thing that we're talking about, right? But in a much more flexible manner, if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So, it's basically knowing the ideas, but also the pawn structure. So, for example, let's just wait. Let me just open up a board editor over here. Let's just talk about the where's the clear board option? The Marcosi bind structure, right? Uh, so here, here, and then here, and then black usually has two different setups that he can go for. One is this in the accelerated dragon. Uh-huh. hmm And here, it's one of these two structures, right? It's either this one or the other one is something like this one. And this is just back over here with e5. Remember, you're never supposed to play e6 and g6 together, because that makes your
Yeah.
dark squares very weak. So that's just a rule of thumb that you guys should know about. Never play e6 and g6 together. Always, if you're playing g6, play with e5, and if the pawn is over here,
Uh,
then you can play with this.
Sir, there's this, but there are a few lines in the Sicilian where you do need to play e6 and g6 together. Um, like for example, it's a line with bishop c4 after the dragon, like the accelerated dragon. So how do we play those types of positions?
Wait, let me just see what you're talking about. Okay, so what are you talking about? E4, E5. Oh,
C5.
sorry,
No, no,
C5.
C5.
Yeah, E4, C5.
C5.
Knight
Knight
F3.
F3. Knight C6. Wait, can you go from the black's perspective, please?
Wait.
Bishop C4.
Bishop C4.
Yeah. So this is like a new. So usually courses tell you to play D6 if you're a dragon
D6.
player. No, G6.
Okay, G6.
Uh, C3. No, it's
C3.
a. Then you have to play E6.
E6. Yeah, huh.
Yeah.
So over here, E6 works because you're playing D5 to just target this bishop. And obviously, white has made sort of a suboptimal move by placing the bishop out here on c5, c4. So sorry. So it's like a very suboptimal sort of setup over here. But let's just say uh, white plays normally, right? And he plays something like this. And now if you play something like this, and let's just say castles, and now here, let's say something like this, now e6 would be really bad. So there's a subtle difference over here. E6 works because the bishop is over here. In any other line, if the bishop is not over here on c4, then it's combined with g6. It's really bad because of the fact that he just gets a clamp on the dark squares. White gets a clamp on the dark squares. Like you just take over here, take over there, and the dark squares become really weak. Like for example, something like c3, d4, and e5. You can't really get out of this bind without sacrificing a lot of the initiative. So just as a rule of thumb, in the Sicilian defense, that's something that I know. And if your opponent ever plays e6, like there's some players who actually even play uh, e6, g6 in the Karo Khan, which has the same issues. Like for example, e4, c6, d4, and they go over here. So this has some similar issues. Like even later on, like for example, let's just say here, here, and then here. They go on in some lines. Like let's just say bishop out over here, and here, here. So like same idea, e6 and g6 combined. That's a really bad position. Like let's just say even in the c5 variation, you go here, and this is going to be really good for you because after castling you can simply just start pushing. You don't need to castle even. And because he has really slow development, it's going to be better for you. And the fact that this over here, you can just plop in a piece over here, maybe get a knight over here. All that's all you need to do. Get a knight over here somehow, get a bishop over here somehow, and you're good to go. So that becomes like a very big positional hole. And that's another concept in pawn structures that's very much overlooked. Do you guys know what a hole is in a position?
So a hole is like a weak square, right?
Yeah, so
In like
it's like a weak square that is going to be long term as well. So for
hmm.
example, in many lines, I knew my one of my opponents, what he used to play as black was that let me think, see if I can remember his name. His name was something like Fahim Malghani. He's a really strong player from Balochistan, from some place. I think Balochistan or South Punjab or something. Fahim. It was. I don't know if he's here or not. Yeah, he's here. So uh, yeah. So what this opponent really plays is like really bad. He plays something like here, 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 uh, and then he plays something like here, here, and then here. And now he just leaves us a really big hole over here. And after something like this, this, I think I messed up here, uh, here, and something like this. All I need to do every game is just play this and then this. That's all I need to do. Every game, all I need to do is just play this here, takes here. And now what has happened is that one of my light squared pieces is always going to end up over here, right? And all I need to do is play this move, castle. And I mean, not this exact move order that occurs in a lot of his games, but this is what he does. And positionally speaking, I'm already winning. I don't need to do much anything else. I'll always either have a pawn or a piece at the very least in these positions. All I need to do is castle, bring my rook out, bring my other rook out, and by the laws of chess, I can't be worse. So that really gave me a lot of confidence. This was way back in I think 2020s or 2021 when I just started out playing chess, and this is when I discovered that having a clamp on a position is very underrated. Very similar things occur in through d4 setups. Like for example, d4, d5, here. Sometimes opponents goes for these ideas. Do you guys know about this? Like they try and clamp down over here, but then you just get you're stronger over here. Why? Because you can push away his piece and he can't push away your piece. So that's like something that you guys should be made aware of in pawn structures. Very similar things happen in the Marcosi bind as well, where there's a hole over here. You can't ever play d5 without being worse as black. So the entire point of the Marcosi bind is to actually stop the d4 structure. And all of these things sort of come together when you are playing the middle game. So there's strategy, then there's tactics, and then there's end game, and then there's whatnot and whatnot. Like I remember I was at Corner Cafe at a club a few days ago, and Zorez was playing against Saf, and I think it was move 15 or 16, and Zorez was like, "You're just lost. You're lost right out of the opening." And I was like, "How is that even possible, bro?" And he said that his pawn structure is just losing. And then, sure enough, 10 moves down the road, they traded everything off, and it was just a lost endgame for black. And I was really surprised, and I thought to myself that, I need to learn endgames now. And he just spotted it right off the bat. He said, "This is just lost. There's nothing black can do. Anything black does, I just trade down everything, and the endgame is lost because of the pawn structure." It was kind of similar, but he had like a clamp on the position, and one of his bishops just sacrificed itself over here for one of these pawns, and these pawns started rolling down the board. It was really interesting, and which is why end games are very important as well. Is there any opening that you guys want to discuss?
Sir, if we can talk about the Catalan. The Catalan.
Yeah, so the Catalan is one of those openings that I really don't like to play against as black. Let me just share my screen. You want to learn how to play the Catalan, or you want to learn how to play against the Catalan?
I want to know the deeper ideas in the Catalan.
Well, okay. So the Catalan is one of those big bad openings that novice chess players like to play, and they think, "Oh my God, it's the Catalan. I'm gonna you know do so much with the Catalan." And I think the main ideas over here is uh, here. I think this is one of the ways. I don't know if this is the main line or not. I think the main line is something like this. This is also like a Catalan position, right? Am I right or am I wrong? Wasn't this the pseudo Catalan or something? Am I misplaying this? Or is this the Catalan?
Sir, bishop e7. Bishop e7.
No, bishop d6.
That's the same Islam.
Yeah. So that's what I play against this setup. Let's say knight comes out, you just castle, and let's say rook comes out over here. Very quick stuff. Then you take over here, d capture c5, and now if let's say something like this, you push e5, and that's where bishop to d6 really comes out and helps you. So that's what I play as it for black. From white's perspective, I don't know much about the Catalan, but what I do know is that number one, you get this piece back by playing this idea or by playing this idea. So there are two ideas of getting the pawn back. Either by knight over here, if the opponent allows it. Like let's say opponent plays something very subpar. Like let's make moves that I don't usually play. Could you just guide me towards the Catalan? Okay, so this is the Catalan. So bishop g2, see, and then I guess something like bishop e7. And these are very subpar moves. This is not my prep against the Catalan. What you saw me playing was something like the anti-Catalan, right? So that really hinders.
Yes, that was some semi-Slav type of structure, but this is the mainline Catalan
Yeah.
approach step.
So over here, d capture c4 is the main move, but see, now after okay, what? Okay, so queen c2. And this is new territory for me as well. And now, what if we just okay,
Yes,
we can't play this,
yes,
obviously.
we cannot play this. There are
Yeah.
two moves in this position: the Queen C2 and the Knight E5. Knight E5 is a bit challenging, but it is mostly played at the top level. Queen C2 is not that much a vicious move. Knight E5 offers us positions which are a
Yeah,
bit tough to defend.
95 is a good move.
Yeah.
95 is a good move. I think I remember there being this tournament game that I was following a couple of years ago that went into this exam line. Okay, so here and now things sort of get messy for you, right? Because you can't really play this. I mean, you can, but at what cost, right? You get triple pawns. So you can't really play that. And now I guess you can play c5. That's like one way to play. And if he takes, then you can just sort of trade queens. Uh, Honestly, I would play this position as black. Just trade everything down, but only as a worst case scenario, right? Because he's going to take over here, and now you can continue with your development. Knight g4 is an idea. Uh, Knight coming out over here or over here. I think over here is better. And now you can go over here. So I guess once the position sort of opens up, there isn't much that White can do unless, of course, he's really well versed. But let's just turn off the engine. What do you think White could do over here? Here's how you analyze now a position. Let's analyze this position without the engine. We know that White is winning, right? White has a +1 advantage. But what are the factors that are contributing to this +1 advantage? Because let's see if White does nothing, right? White does absolutely nothing. Here is what Black is going to do. Black is going to actually just bring out his rook, bring out his bishop this way, and complete development and trade down pieces. Pawn structure is uh, similar. Piece development. Black has one, two, three pieces developed. White has two pieces developed. So what do you guys think?
Acha,
They,
sir, I think we need to calculate the imbalances in the position for both sides.
yes, good, good.
So,
That's the first job. First, let's look at the
so
pawn structure. First thing
yeah.
we're always going to look at is the pawn structure. Number one, this outpost over here. So moves like this and this wouldn't really do us any good because then she gets an outpost over here, right? So something like this, and then there's an outpost over here. So that's one thing. Number two, um, back rank issues for Black. Black has a straight, backside thing, and he has this thing going on over here. Number two, this bishop over here is really strong, attacking this pawn, and on the queen side, two for two. So there's not nothing that much. Okay, now second imbalance, the piece activity, uh, light squares. White has a very good light squared bishop. Black's light squared bishop isn't that good. Rooks. White has some activity, but okay, Black can come out as well. Number three, White has two undeveloped pieces. Black has one undeveloped piece. So, what do you think about the position? Now, let me know your analysis. What's your analysis?
So I guess we have to start developing our pieces as white so that we can create some long-term strategy in the position. So I believe that we should develop our knight out to c3 first because we know where this knight is going to go. We are not going to put it on d2 or a3. So we can put it on c3 and then we can figure out where the bishop is going to go from there.
Yes, okay. Also, moves like a3. This also looks good. What about bishop out over here? What do you think about this move? Bishop here to trade over here, because this is a strong piece. Okay, now let's say we make a very logical looking move. Rook here, and now I guess bishop can come out over here, pinning. Uh, Now we have two options. We can either go over here, or I guess this is just pretty good. You go back, stop that, and also prepare this move. So what do you think? How do we proceed from here? We can go over here, knight out here, but that does nothing. We can take, and play this, or we can also have this. We also have this tactic, don't we? In some lines, what if here and here?
So okay, if I was in this position, I would try eventually to take control of the C file somehow. Because right now, one of our assets, like, I mean, it's not possible right now, but eventually, we could put our rook on C1, A1, and then try and pressure the C7 square.
So
Now,
here's what I think you should do. I think if I were your position, I'd probably move my bishop back, reroute it over here, force a trade, and get the open file, and then just continue exerting pressure. And also, there's this idea then also, just harassing this rook over here. So that'll give us a lot of moves. That's what I think. But you're saying take over the C file. The thing is, there are 1, 2, and 3 pieces on the C file. Not a lot of, and the moment he trades over here, I mean, your rook on the C just goes to the D. So there's nothing, that's really worrisome about this rook being on A1. What do you think about this? Like, let's just analyze with the engine. So engine is saying just take. Oh, sorry. Take over here, take over there, and then knight to A5, attacking over here. What about here then? And now knight to B7 wins. So that's what the engine is saying. So,
just sir, so of course the engine can like comprehend many amounts of positions, but if you like, how are you supposed to calculate knight to the edge of the board? Like, do you have to calculate long sequences, or is it like for example, you showed a line where the knight was on the edge of the board, then it went to attack the rook, and then you could win the bishop afterwards. Yeah, like after
so like,
take, and then you
for
take.
example, one of the positions that I was analyzing was also with bishop takes over here, because this knight, like I said, is the glue that's holding this position together, right? And number two, it also weakens spawn structures. Now, one very high level concept, but one that is also very underrated, is sticking to essentials. Like, many a time people just believe, okay, I have this light squared bishop, but because I know that this light squared bishop is so important in the Catalan, I'm never going to trade it off. But hard calculation shows that, okay, after taking over here, taking over there, and then I go over there, that's what's going to get me the piece. Now, there are three things in calculation that you need to look out for. Number one is candidate moves, right? Number two is combinational vision, and number three is creativity. If you have these three things, you can become a very good calculator. So candidate moves are obviously moves that you would consider playing. Like, for example, over here, one candidate move I thought was this move. What does the engine say about this? Okay, plus 0.9, and let's say opponent plays something like, well, he won't ever play this because then we just get a piece. So let's make a move. Let's just play this. And now, like I said, you get this idea. So very difficult to play as black from here, right? But remember, all of this only comes through this line. through taking back over here. Over here, there might be something else as well. Like for example, the c5 is pretty much forced over here. So d capture c5. Over here, even better engine is saying is queen to c7. But okay, let's just say taking over here seems much most logical. And bishop capture c5, pretty much forced. And over here, knight to c3. So I guess you prioritize development. Just prioritize development, right? Over
Uh,
taking the pawn.
Sir, so yeah, we get the Catalan position, but there's also another position, sir.
Yeah.
Like for example, it's a new opening, right? It's the Knight of Sicilian. So
Knight of
right,
Sicilian.
so like when you get into the Knight of, there are a lot of lines that white can play, like the f4 variation with then e6. So can you kind of explain it?
Yeah.
Like
So
for example,
knight
like
of.
e6.
I'm not really a Sicilian player. Let me tell you right off the bat. All I know about the Sicilian is from what I know it as a from my analysis of the white's perspective. So over here, I think the main move in the knight off is this or d6. I know that you're supposed to play a6 to get into the knight off. So here, 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 and then here. Is this the knight off variation or is this something else?
No, sir, this is not the Knight of. I don't. Yeah. No, the Knight of happened after d6, d4, take. Knight. No. It's not this. It's not immediate.
Yeah.
You go
So here,
knight. That goes knight. No. Knight goes to f6 first.
okay, and
Then
then
knight c3. Then knight c3 a6.
yeah. I mean, sure. I don't play this line, and my chess theory goes against this. But from what I know over here is that a5 is a line, a4 is a line, and then you can also just castle queenside over here in this line. That's a line that I know. I know that there's this English attack thing also, right? So bishop e3 is also a line. Uh, have you ever looked at this line? And after this, you just go over here, here, and then here. Oh, sorry, e captures d5. That's one analysis that I do know about, but I'm not a Knight of or English Open player. I usually just play something else. I play for this. I play the Alpin, or I can even, if need be, transpose into the Marcosi bind structure. So like over here, I can,
Oh, okay. Sir,
yeah,
speaking of the Alapin, there's this variation in the Alapin. Can I tell you the notation?
yeah, sure. So
E4, C5,
yeah,
C3, knight f6.
c3,
After
c5. Okay, c3 knight f6. Okay, c3. Wait.
C3, knight f6, E5,
Yeah.
knight D5, D4,
Knight d5, d4. Okay, pretty standard setup. Okay, and I know what
take.
take
Yeah,
and
and then
d6.
yeah, no, the take, knight C6, knight f3, then D6 because then white has some line
Yeah,
afterwards.
this is something that Magnus Carlsen plays with d6.
So how do you think as the black and the white pieces in this position?
Now, for the black pieces, I know that this is for the black pieces. This is like really good for the black pieces, but over here there are some lines as well. Like over here, here, and then you just go back over here. That's what I play.
Sir, but मुझे लगा था कि the main move is bishop b3. No, or bishop b5. I'm say there are two moves because like after bishop c4 in this position, knight b6, and then there's
Yeah,
bishop b3.
this line is one of the reasons I started playing the other line, which is the delayed Alapin. It's just to avoid this line. That's why I stopped playing this, because this was giving me a lot of issues when I started playing. So it was something like this, right? I don't know the exact move order, but here, here, and then f3, and then d6. So over here, I remember it being something like what I used to play back when I used to play this here, here, and then something like I just went back over here or something like this. Sometimes over here. Okay, so there's this secret line over here where bishop captures f7. What? Does that work? That's interesting. What about here? Honestly, this is a really strong weapon. What do you think about this line, Jed? Like,
I've never seen it before.
I mean, it's only 0. Minus 0.9, and it's like played in master games as well. So
Wow. Wait,
that
can you
is
show me that line again for the white for like
so
wait,
like
so what is it?
over here you can just sacrifice over here on f7, right? And then after takes, check, and now I guess you can't really just go back over here, or you can, because then e6 really just binds you up. Now you can't develop this way, so you get some sort of development. And okay, let's just say we continue making moves here, and then you just walk into that. No, wow, what a crazy move. Okay, over here you can play this move.
The problem with these types of lines is like you need to be very tactically aware for the
Yeah.
white pieces. Like if you slip up once, it's black's game.
Yeah, but
Um,
I like this sort of structures. Like, imagine you're playing a classical game and your opponent suddenly just blitzes out this move, and then you're like, what? You're inclined to take, and then, okay, this is also very much natural. Uh,
so wait, so after oh yeah, because you can't take with the bishop knight g5
yeah, you
check.
can't take with the
Oh,
bishop, and so you have to go back, let's say over here, and then knight
oh, and
g5
now white is
nonetheless.
better.
Yeah, now white is better, so knight g5 nonetheless. And the thing is that with the engine, sometimes uh, they misevaluate these sort of positions a lot, and from a human standpoint it becomes very difficult to play against. So I guess from black side it's something that you need to be aware of. Well, okay, main line over here goes this, and then d captures e5, knight captures e5, and then okay, there's an isolated queen pawn over here, but you can sort of ruin the pawn structure over here. Castle. Well, you don't really want to ruin the pawn structure because you want to play d5. So bishop d7, knight captures d7 makes sense here, and now you can just something play like castles even. Obviously opponent can't take over here because then he loses. And okay, g6, knight comes out, bishop here, and what here? Wow, this is like calculating fiasco. D captures c6
Oh, you can't
here.
take the queen. You
Yeah,
can't.
you
Oh,
can't
because
take the
then you take
queen.
the pawn.
Yeah, so it's
Oh wow.
okay. And now I guess you have to do this, and then do you take over here with check first, or what do you do? You take here with check just because you can here,
Oh then. Oh yeah. I think
and then
bishop.
you have
Oh
this.
wait.
So very resourceful for white if you know what you're doing. So you just
Make it. Yeah,
now
sir.
this is
There's this one question I have.
yeah.
Would like in classical chess specifically, if you play these dubious types of lines, like I've never seen bishop takes f7 before. I've played. I've never seen it. So would you be comfortable playing this in classical chess?
In
If
classical
like for
chess,
example.
sure. I mean, in Pakistan especially, not many people study chess that much, and if you hit them with a surprise, or if you're well versed at your opening by, let's say, move 10, and you know what the plans are better than your opponent, then you're going to be winning nonetheless. I mean, it is a shady sort of line, but it is what it is. For rapid, for sure, I would play this in rapid, over the board rapid, federated rapid. For classical, okay, the thing with these openings are that they're a double-edged sword, right? If your opponent gets out of it, he gets out of it, and then you're done for. But if he's caught, he's caught. There's nothing he can do about that. Even some of these well-reputed openings, like the Evans Gambit, right? I play that. It's a well,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I mean, it
Oh,
puts
you play
pressure.
that?
Yeah, I mean, it puts the pressure on the opponent, right? To think about what he wants to do, what he needs to do,
I
and
play
he's the one
something
who
like
has to
that
think.
as
Yeah.
yeah. So if you play that, like for example, like sometimes I usually play the Deutz,
Yeah, the
the Deutz
duets.
gambit, right?
Yeah. The duets is fine as well. It's fine. There's this opponent that I used to play against Aga Faisal, he used to play the duets against me a lot of the times.
The Deutsch is really nice though.
Yeah, it's an okay opening as well. I mean, all of these openings with e4 that are gambit lines, they're okay. They're sound. You have to give back the position, the pawn, and your opponent isn't a grandmaster or something, right? So there is that.
Like in the Evans gambit is really nice because after b5 takes and then c3, it's like you can
Yeah, but if your
play.
opponent knows proper theory, then you're done for. But mostly,
Acha?
thankfully, in Pakistan, it's not that bad. You know, Gary Kasparov used to be very famous for playing the Evans Gambit.
Yeah, he's the one who popularized it, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Before
like,
that, Paul Murphy used to play it a lot.
oh, like
And
the guy who's the tactically very strong.
yeah, Paul Murphy
Uh,
used to play it a lot. And before that, it was Captain Evans himself, after whom the
mm,
opening is named after. But that's just a trivia. So, right now, when you play these sort of openings, like for example, what we talked about over here, where is it? Uh, right over here, this is what we talked about, right? In these sort of setups, what do you think is more important, pawn structure awareness or tactical awareness?
in this position, this specific
Yeah, in
position,
these sort of positions.
tactical awareness, I guess. Like if it's very calculated, if it's like a very, it's like if it's a game where you have to calculate a lot, then you need to have you have to know your motives, I guess. You have to know, okay,
It's the same thing as before. You need to be aware of both the ideas and the resulting pawn structures. But okay, over here, imagine you know your this position much more better than your opponent. Like for example, over here, you just run into this move, check, and then you sort of get a lot of stuff. Like let's just say even back over here, queen takes, and then you're just up so much material. So it's just knowing these tactics better than your opponent. And if it's a classical game, then obviously tactics don't matter as much, because then they're obviously going to calculate that okay, b capture c5 here, here is wrong, right? They're going to calculate all of this. They're going to see this, and then rook to d1, and let's just say here, and now you have to take
yeah,
over
bishop
here,
f4.
or
Oh, no, you can delay it as well. You can play bishop f4.
or you can just play, give a desperate. Okay, bishop f4, no, because then there's this,
No, but then e5, and then you can like go.
there's this.
There's this line you can take on c6. No, wait.
I would probably just
I
take over here, uh, and then after here, just take over there,
hmm,
play something like
okay.
this, centralize everything. But okay, this is minus 0.6, so now I won't do that because now I know that this is
Uh,
the best move. So okay, bishop f4 is the best move. Then e5. Okay, what's the
oh wow, rook ac1.
what is rook ac1? See, what is this like? This is what prep is, right? And now imagine your opponent is just dumbfounded after this move. This sort of deep prep is what wins you games basically, because this is all of this was pretty much forced and happenable in a game, and now your opponent is probably going to be like, what? You can just take, and then now you
Oh
have
my
some.
god, look, bishop. No, no, no. It said bishop takes e5. And then it's saying bishop takes e5 because it
Oh
failed.
yeah, it's pained. Wow. So bishop takes e5, and then even with check. Also, okay, you have to move. Let's say you move over there, and now still you take over there. That is under attack. And okay, we were analyzing this for black, but it seems that if you analyze deep enough, white is the one who gets all the resources. Like, what's the resource she
Like in
gets?
this, but this line with bishop takes f7, I have to look into it as black now because it's actually something that my opponents can do, and I might be like lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about this is so scary? Like for example, even after like let's say uh sorry here d6 here here.
But you can transpose.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I just play this line over here, and now you can't take obviously because of check.
oh yeah, because queen a5. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, queen f5 check, fix that up. So over here, there's actually a game I have with the international master that I drew, a rapid game with this in this exact line, and I was actually winning that line, winning that game. So
Wow.
yeah, I was like winning that, and my opponent was rated 2800 on chess.com. And I drew that
Wow.
game, and I was winning that game, but I just drew it because I was just, I don't know. So this is a very resourceful. Like Hikaru plays this, Magnus plays this, everyone plays this. So that's, I guess, if I were to give you the crux of today's lecture, it is to spend time on the analysis board, looking at pawn structures, looking at your own analysis, seeing what went right, what goes right, what goes wrong in your openings, coming up with novelties, things you haven't seen before, like captures on f7. You know, pawn structures are really important over here. Like in some cases, you play e4 d5 or d4 e5. Also, in some of these lines, if you can get like e4 and your opponent doesn't take over here, you push d5, and then you're doing really good as well. And then just this, you have a lot of space on the in the center. So that's all of these things that go into your preparation, and you need to have these deep ideas available for all of your lines. So I think, yeah, I think it's going to be an hour. Thank you for your time, and yeah, I guess that's it. I'll just end the stream. You guys there? I think the yeah the Google Meet ended. So yeah.